So we're out here working on this Jeep again because Jeeps need constant attention. So what we're doing today is we're going to weld in a frame patch in this front spring hanger here. So you can see we got a patch already, and we got a crack right there. So what we got is a whole section that goes in there. So we got here is a rust buster RB2015L. And this is what it entails. So we need to, it's all oily. Oh, that ought to be great to paint, cover it in oil. Anyway, so I'll open that up. The saran wrap is defeating me. Anyway, so it's this whole piece right there. We got to mark it and cut out the section of frame and then weld this over the top of that. So we got to take this super awesome step off. It is in the way up here where it bolts to the frame for our bracket has to get bolted in. So as we jacked it up, and we put it back down, this gap, so with a gap right here, has now come closed as it was kind of pulling up on this side, and the crack closed up. So I think it's a pretty good one. On three. Up, up, right. That's on my foot. So I took some measurements. I measured off the grease fitting here to the center of the bolt. We go 44 3/8 right there in the middle. And then I measured off of that bolt there to here, and we go 35.5. So I just want those references so when I go to put this back in, I make sure that that's where it's supposed to be. So we're going to pull that bolt out. What was it? 7/8 on the back side and 13/16 on the front. Ooh, that's exactly where it needed to be. Save that. So I'm gonna let this down. So what we gotta do is kind of hold this up to this and kind of mark it ish. That's what the instructions say, hold it up and mark it, but it's, I don't know how they expect you to do that. So rough estimate. You got a wrench up there still. There's still okay. Are you missing a wrench for a while?
It'd be yours.
It better not be mine. So that's about there. Alright, mark the outside of that. gonna just, yeah, the front edge. Actually, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna trim this a little bit because it's got a, yeah, it's got a stick. Oh, maybe we'll just do this. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna cut this down so we're not welding it up underneath that motor mount. So that ain't gonna happen. So let's mark this a little bit. So what they say to do, mark the outside edges and then measure in 1.5 inches from the top down, probably 1.5 inches from here, and then mark the rest of that, and that's what you're going to cut out. And you're going to cut out around here and leave the mount on, and then make your 1.5 inches up. So what I'm going to do is, because there's a motor mount right here that is on the back side, so I'm going to take this box and I'm going to cut it down. So I'm going to cut it down and I'm going to go around that motor mount because I don't want to go up underneath it. I mean, I might, as we get to it, take a look at it, but I'm probably going to try to go around it, to be honest. I'm just going to kind of come in 1.5 inches down. Ooh. Cut around here. I wonder if I should leave that a little bit longer. I might not do that all the way up under here. We'll see about that. I might cut it here, so it's a little bit bigger. It might not go all the way under. I'll figure that out. So that's what we're going to cut out. So that's going to overlap. So I'm probably going to have to kick this whole piece out here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this, if I cut the rest of this out, and I might plate across the top here a little bit also. I don't know if you can see that. Probably can't see that. So, yeah, that where that piece of plate's welded there, we'll cut that off and replate it. Alright. Let's see how this goes. Hopefully I don't need a new lens when I'm done. Yeah. Alright, so I got this marked. This is where it was gonna get welded, and you gotta like tuck it all the way up under there. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna cut it back to here. I'm gonna weld it there and here and up the middle there. And I'm gonna come along here. I moved all the fuel lines and the brake lines and everything. I pulled them away. I just kind of strapped them up around the drive shaft. I pulled the drive shaft out so I can get in there, and I think that's what we're gonna do. So I gotta clean up this section here, this little piece that's on there. I'm gonna take off either that or notch the other piece around it. Clean up these sides where we're gonna weld it. I'm gonna have to clearance this bracket right here because this still has the piece welded to it. So I'm gonna have to cut this back a little bit so we can get the new piece up behind the body mount here. So I'll have to cut that back a little bit. At least the thickness of that repair piece. And yeah, I'm gonna have to trim the other one to go behind that mount and then up the side. So we'll weld it. Instead of getting up underneath the mount where we can't weld it behind the mount, we're gonna weld it behind there. So alright, so I took this one here, I cut on either side. I used a little chisel bit on the air hammer there, and I broke it off and then ground the weld flat. Just use the plasma cutter here, and I cut a little gap in there to fit the bracket in. So I did the same thing right here. Broke that off too. I'll tuck it up under here like they say to. Figure maybe having the motor mount tied into it would be a little better than hanging on it and being independent. I don't know if we'd do something, but so I cut that there, here, and I scored the weld. So I'm gonna do the same thing up the side here, and cut out this little section there too. And then I'll wire wheel, or I'll use a flap wheel to take all the paint and such off so I can weld it. Alright, so we got that all cleaned up. Just got to put the new bracket in, weld it up. Well, let's try to put this in. Some Huh. It seems as though this doesn't exactly fit in here like it should, I'm guessing. It's gonna be awful frustrating. I think we're gonna have to cut this back corner off. It's trying to like, frame's got a bend in it right here, and it's just not, this box doesn't have a bend in it, so it's like, well, that's nice. So the only thing we could do is either cut it and bend this over, and then cut that one and trim it to fit, or cut the whole piece off and weld it on the edge there. I guess we'll just cut into here so we can bend that on both sides, and cut the back corner off there and make it fit, I guess. So if you happen to get one of these, this is bent the wrong way because obviously it's the wrong side in the wrong box. So now that I have the thing all cut apart, the part ain't the right part. So we're pushing this in there. Put that on the thing. So I cut it along the bottom edge, and I'll put it in, and then I'll weld on the back side, and I'll have to put a piece in here or something to make it work. Rough this down. 44 3/4. About a 1/2 inch.
Oh, 3/8.
Huh?
It's 3/8.
44 3/8. Oh. Alright, I can let that go. So I got it welded in for the most part. And there, back side. I gotta finish this back edge on the other side. And I was burning through here, so I'm gonna have to try to put another plate across or something and tie in a little bit farther back. It's just burning through on the bottom, and figure out something to do with that. Alright, so let me get all this welded in. Some of it didn't come out too bad, but I just kind of put a strap across the bottom to bridge that part that burnt through, and I just welded the sides. It's still pretty soft here, or thin, so I didn't try to go across the back here. I just bridged it and go with that and see how it goes. Basically this whole side's patched all the way up to the middle. So, got some patching on this side. I guess if it came down to it, I could put a piece of angle iron or something and tie it in here, or maybe you can do something, but we'll see how it goes. I gotta get some paint and paint that, and then that should be done. So we got the bolts back in, we put the drive shaft back in, and the wheel back on, and let's say we're finished. So that's about it. It's all welded in, jack down, tires on, drive shafts in. Should be good to go. So I would have went a lot smoother had we got the correct part to begin with, but we made do with what we had. So I ended up just kind of cutting the sides off flush with the bottom, and then you put it in, and I just kind of bent it into where it needed to be, welded it along the edge here, and then this edge had a little bit of a gap, and then I kind of welded it to the frame, and then I welded this piece to the frame, and then I kind of filled in the gap. So should hold. So anyway, hope that could help somebody. Thanks for watching.